Hello and welcome to Green is the Color, Episode 2. I'm Jordan Reimer, your host, and this is Jeff Holt, the biggest Rider fan that I know and one of the smartest guys and coolest people I know. And we're just going to come and talk to you a little bit about the last two games the Riders have played. First the Edmonton game and then the Calgary game just yesterday. Recap a little bit about it, and just to start us off, recap yesterday's game.
Well, I'm going to touch on the Edmonton game a little bit. Man, we gave that game away. This team is not a charity. We're not supposed to give the game away. But now on to Calgary. Man, what a way to rebound against the Stampeders.
Fantastic game.
Getzlaf and that 65-yard touchdown pass, good job. But one thing I was impressed with is in the third quarter, how we were able to keep Calgary's offense off the field. Because in the first half, Henry Burris is just moving the ball on us, and they looked like they were going to start getting up on us by a large lead. And then all of a sudden, in the third quarter, our defense wasn't even on the field much, so they got time to rest. And our offense, we had most time possession.
Yeah, exactly. We had a lot of time possession. To recap a little bit of Edmonton's game, 22-point lead. We were playing fantastic first half, and then all of a sudden we just gave it away. Like you said, we are not a charity case. I mean, yes, it's Richie Hall's first real coaching team, but we still don't need to help him out, whether he is a fantastic man. But I think, and I was very hard on Darian Durant that game. I didn't think he was playing very well at all. I think he could have done so many things a lot better, and he could have actually acted like an experienced quarterback and not fading under the pressure, fading under the heat, all that kind of stuff. Ken Miller, I was very angry about that game. Unfortunately, we didn't have a video about it last week, but just to remind you guys, like Ken Miller, I'm struggling with being okay with him as a coach.
Well, we gotta say, it was more play calling than with Paul Police. We're 2nd and 20, and we throw a 3-yard pass to Dressler. And then Edmonton, when they're 2nd and 20, Ricky Ray throws a 20-yard pass to Fred Stamps.
And that's all experience, because Ricky Ray doesn't know what he does. Darian Durant should understand, whether it is an offensive coordinator call or not, that on 2nd and 20 you need to make more than 3 yards. Anybody understands that reality. So I mean, there is a lot of coaching struggles that we're having. The fact that Ken Miller does not seem to have any emotion, a very apathetic man. He just stands on the sidelines, doesn't seem to move, crosses his arms, and really doesn't show any emotion or love for the game. That bothers me. I think a coach needs to actually care about the game and show it, not just kind of hold it all in.
Well, you can't question Miller's love for the game. I mean, he's the head coach of the Riders, and that's kind of harsh. But anyways, let's move on to Calgary. And like I said, of course, our offense was on the field the majority of the third quarter, but I think that was a great win, and that was a great character win for the team.
Well, I was very impressed. I know I had been down on Darian Durant for the last couple of games, but he played amazing. He played phenomenal. Very, very smart quarterback. I thought that he was doing very well, making good throws, and just looking for the open man. There's a lot of times where he's taking the extra couple of seconds that I always struggle with being okay with, but he's using it. He's actually using his feet. He's allowing himself to run, and he's finding the open man. He's making these plays. And then he has some great receivers like Getzlaf, like Dressler, and even Wes Cates going out there and acting like a receiver, catching all these passes. You know, he has these great guys that are very, very helpful to him. So I thought they played great. Defense, I don't know. I don't mind the defense at all. I think that they're doing pretty good. Rough Riders always have a good defense.
One problem I had with it is in the first half, we were giving Calgary's receivers about a 15-yard cushion, and Henry Burris was able to capitalize on that, keep on moving the ball, first down Calgary. And then, like Glenn Suter mentioned in the game, the way our defensive line lines up, if Calgary's O-line gets things right, Joffrey Reynolds was able to run off for a huge gain, and that's not acceptable. We need to really work on that. I know in the last minute when we stopped Calgary, our defense played man-to-man. They did so well. Against BC, that's one thing we should do.
Well, it's that zone coverage that I think always gives them a little too much cushion. Putting Stephen Giles in, what was your idea on that?
I was a little iffy on that. I mean, I don't see any other team do that. I don't see John Huffnagel saying to Henry Burris, all right, we're putting Neely in for the second quarter. But, Giles did do all right when he was in. But I think, and what's funny is when Durant came out again, he was able to win the game for us.
Well, and I think that was a big thing. I was actually very much okay with that. I thought Ken Miller finally made a good decision, and to almost rotate his quarterbacks a slight bit through. They're giving Darian Durant the first little bit of a start, putting Stephen Giles in to start going. What I noticed, Stephen Giles, when he came in for just the one play, trying to get that extra yard, the first down yard or whatever, he couldn't make it. After being in the game for a couple of minutes, there was another, second and inches or whatever, and he made it because he was more into the game. He was actually focused. He was actually playing. So I think that made a difference. Darian Durant now had a different view. He played a little bit, then got sad a little bit, and he actually got to see the different kind of things that Stephen Giles saw. Stephen Giles, being on the lines, knew what he needed to do and actually was able to move the ball fairly well for somebody who doesn't play nearly as much. So I was okay with the decision. I was impressed by Stephen Giles. I was impressed by Darian Durant.
One more point. With Durant seemed in the second quarter to have a hard time throwing against the wind. Now, in Saskatchewan, it's a pretty windy place. So I'd say, Durant needs to work on that a bit. And of course, in the fourth quarter, he was against the wind, threw that touchdown pass. We won, and that's great.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Stephen Giles does have a stronger arm, but Darian Durant is a better overall quarterback, so I think they definitely helped each other out. Gene Makowski came back. What did you think of that? How's his play?
Oh, it impacted the O-line greatly. Wes Cates, the previous few weeks, didn't do nothing. You put Gino back there, and Cates runs for almost 100 yards.
Well, I think that was a big thing. He was opening holes and helping. Wes Cates is a fantastic running back. And when you have, Gino out there and actually pushing guys out of the way, it definitely helps. You also got to give credit though to the other teams' defenses. Though they are matching our offensive line very well, so you got to give them some credit. What do we need to do to keep the momentum up?
We need to, we need to have better play calling on offense. I know, of course, we won the game and all that, but I like to see some improvement there. Nothing we need to keep momentum on is not stalling all the time, 2 and out. It seems like when the Riders are on there, sometimes they're stone cold. That offense sometimes is stone cold, but when they're hot, man, they're on fire.
Exactly. No, you're 100% right. Why don't you give me a player that stepped it up this week?
Player that stepped it up? You were just talking about the guy, Wes Cates.
Wes Cates, fantastic. No, why do you pick him?
Why do I pick him? The stats speak for itself. He came on and he almost ran for 100 yards. He had more than 100 yards all-purpose yards. I mean, this man really stepped it up against his old team. But I remember a few weeks ago in the last video I mentioned one player that needed to step up was Chris Jones. What's funny is that the next week he gets pulled and Deron Walker goes in. And, whenever Deron Walker's got the ball, I've been impressed with him. So, yeah, it's good to see our wide receivers playing.
For the last couple of games, I thought that, what's his first name? Quinn. Quinn's his last name. Johnny Quinn. I saw him as being one of the most useless picks we could have had. I was impressed by the 2 catches he did have. I thought that he actually did make some decent plays. Maybe he needs to get the ball thrown to him more. Maybe he needs to get more open. But I did think that he actually made a little bit of an impact on that game, making some plays. So I give him his credit. And yeah, what do you think will happen with our next game against BC?
I think it'll be a tight game. BC's 1-4, and they've just lost to Hamilton. And BC's never in this place 1-4. And the Riders are coming in this game 3-2, big win over Calgary. We need to stay grounded. We need to stay disciplined and focused, because if we're going to beat this BC team, we can't just go in there thinking, oh, they're 1-4, no problem, big win. No, we need to go into BC place and just keep ourselves grounded. We need to have, of course, the play calling and put pressure on Bucky Pierce or Jarius Jackson, who's ever in. But what's happened with all the sacks?
I don't know where the sacks have gone. We had the first 2 games. I thought we were doing amazing in sacks. We had these guys going. And now we've sort of lost it. And I do think a lot of that is that other teams are picking up on our defensive strategies. They are watching the film. I think we're using very similar strategies every single game, every single defensive play. So obviously they're going to watch that. They're going to understand, the kind of moves that